You know, China is such a massive country, we start reducing it to a handful of images: Great Wall, pandas, and crowded cities. While that is technically accurate, it is also roughly equivalent to describing the entire Pacific Rim as a beach town. I went through geological surveys, satellite data, and academic research on this country, and found 50 facts that most people, including most people who live there, have never seen laid out in one place. Stay with us, because some of these facts will blow your mind. Because what I found in a remote gorge in southeastern Tibet is a canyon 3 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, and almost nobody outside China has heard of it. Number 50. China covers approximately 9.6 million square kilometers. Depending on which agency is counting and how lakes and disputed territory get measured, that makes it either the 3rd or 4th largest country on Earth. Either way, it is roughly 1/15 of all the dry land on the planet. Number 49. From north to south, China stretches about 5,500 kilometers, from the frozen banks of the Highlands River down to a reef near the equator. From west to east, it stretches about 5,200 kilometers, from the Pamir Mountains to the Pacific coast. Those two distances are almost identical. The country is nearly a perfect square the size of a continent. Number 48. China shares land borders with 14 different countries. That is tied with Russia for the most of any nation on Earth. Combined, those borders stretch approximately 22,000 kilometers. The border with Mongolia alone runs over 4,600 kilometers. The border with Afghanistan is a single 92-kilometer sliver through the Pamir Mountains, with no official crossing point at all. Number 47. China is wide enough to span 5 separate geographic time zones. It uses one. Every clock in the country, from the Pacific coast to the mountains bordering Kazakhstan, is set to Beijing time. In the far west, the sun does not rise until nearly 10 a.m. in winter. Offices open late. Nobody changes the clock. The clock changes the country. Number 46. China's coastline runs roughly 14,500 kilometers, dotted with more than 6,500 islands. That is before you count the exclusive economic zone stretching into the surrounding seas, an ocean territory covering millions of additional square kilometers that most of the world never thinks about when it pictures this country. The tourism industry has one story about Chinese mountains: misty peaks in classical paintings. That story is true. Here are 5 facts the postcards do not bother to include. Number 45. The Tibetan Plateau covers roughly 2.5 million square kilometers at an average elevation above 4,500 meters. It is the largest and highest plateau on Earth, more than 4 times the size of Texas. Scientists call it the third pole because it holds the largest reserve of ice outside the Arctic and Antarctic, an estimated tens of thousands of glaciers. 10 major rivers begin here, including the Yangtze, the Yellow River, and the Mekong. Nearly 2 billion people downstream, across multiple countries, depend on water that starts on this plateau. Number 44. Mount Everest sits directly on the border between China and Nepal, and it is still growing. The Indian tectonic plate is driving north into Asia at roughly 45 millimeters a year. That collision pushes the summit upward by an estimated 4 millimeters annually, even as wind and ice wear it back down. The tallest point on the planet has not finished being built. Number 43. The Qinghai-Tibet Railway is the highest railway on Earth. Over 960 kilometers of track sit above 4,000 meters. Its summit, Tangula Pass, reaches 5,072 meters, and the nearby station is the highest railway station on the planet. Engineers had to invent new cooling technology just to keep the permafrost beneath the tracks from thawing in summer and swallowing the rails. Number 42. K2, the second highest mountain on Earth, sits on the border between China and Pakistan in the Karakoram Range. Unlike Everest, which has been climbed by thousands, K2's brutal weather and technical faces have made it one of the deadliest peaks to attempt anywhere in the world. Number 41. In southeastern Tibet, the Yarlung Tsangpo River carves through the Himalayas and creates the deepest canyon ever measured on land. At its deepest point, it plunges 6,009 meters, more than 3 times the depth of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. It stretches 504.6 kilometers, making it slightly longer than the Grand Canyon too. Sections of it remain so remote and unexplored that Western scientists did not confirm its full scale until an expedition in 1998. I spoke with the geographer who has studied the plateau's river systems for years. She told me most people assume the world's deepest canyon must be somewhere famous. She said the actual answer sits behind the world's most famous mountain, and almost nobody looks for it there. China's desert reputation is not exaggeration. If anything, it is understatement. Here are 5 specific measured facts about what sites in the country's dry interior. Number 40. The Taklamakan Desert in western Xinjiang covers roughly 337,000 square kilometers of shifting sand, making it one of the largest sand deserts on Earth. Its Uyghur name is often translated as place of no return. Ancient trade caravans on the Silk Road skirted its edges rather than cross it directly, because entire camel trains disappeared into its dunes. Number 39. The Gobi Desert stretches across northern China and southern Mongolia, covering well over 1 million square kilometers combined. It is one of the largest deserts on the planet, and unlike the sandy image most people picture, most of the Gobi is bare rock and gravel, not dunes at all. Number 38. The Badan Jaran Desert in Inner Mongolia contains the tallest stationary sand dunes on Earth. Its tallest, Balutu Peak, rises about 460 to 500 meters from base to summit, taller than the Empire State Building, and sits at a total altitude of over 1,600 meters above sea level. Locals call it the Everest of deserts. Unlike most dunes, which shift constantly, the core of these megadunes has been compacted for more than 20,000 years and barely moves at all. More than 100 lakes sit scattered directly between the dunes, some pink, some blue, some so salty that almost nothing can survive in them, and all within walking distance of dry sand, hundreds of meters tall. Number 37. The Turpan Depression in Xinjiang contains Aiding Coal Lake, sitting 154 meters below sea level. That makes it the lowest point in China, and one of the lowest exposed points of land anywhere on the planet, behind only the Dead Sea and a couple of similar depressions in Africa. In 2023, a nearby weather station recorded a temperature of 52.2 degrees Celsius, the hottest official reading in Chinese history. Number 36. The Badan Jaran's dunes do something almost nobody expects from sand. Certain slopes emit a deep, resonant hum when the surface shifts, a phenomenon known as singing sand. Under the right dry conditions, it can be heard more than 10 kilometers away. A vast, silent desert that occasionally sounds like distant thunder for no visible reason. If you have made it this far, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It genuinely helps us keep making these, and it costs you nothing. Beneath China's surface is a landscape most people never think to look for. Here are 5 facts about what is hiding underground. Number 35. In Chongqing's Fengji County sits Xiaozhai Tiankeng, the deepest sinkhole on Earth. It plunges as much as 662 meters straight down, with a diameter of over 500 meters. Its volume is roughly 120 million cubic meters, enough space to swallow the Empire State Building sideways with room left over. A river still runs through caves at its base. Number 34. Sinkholes this size have their own name in Chinese, Tiankeng, meaning heavenly pit. Only about 75 of them have ever been documented on the entire planet. Roughly 50 of them are in China. The rest of the world combined accounts for the other 25. Number 33. The karst landscape of southern China, the limestone towers and cone-shaped hills seen in countless classical paintings, forms one of the largest and most spectacular karst regions on Earth. Recognized by UNESCO as a single connected natural heritage site spanning multiple provinces, it took tens of millions of years of rainwater slowly dissolving limestone to build. Number 32. In Zhangjiajie, Hunan Province, thousands of narrow quartz sandstone pillars rise directly out of the forest floor, some reaching nearly 800 meters. The landscape was a direct visual inspiration for the floating mountains in the film Avatar. Unlike a normal mountain range, these pillars form because the softer surrounding rock eroded away over millions of years, leaving only the hardest columns standing. Number 31. The ancient irrigation system beneath the Turpan Depression, called the Kerez, consists of nearly 1,000 underground channels totaling close to 5,000 kilometers in length. built to move mountain snowmelt across a desert without losing it to evaporation, Chinese engineers rank it alongside the Great Wall and the Grand Canal as one of the three great pre-modern engineering projects of the country. Most of it was dug entirely by hand. China's rivers do not behave like rivers anywhere else. Here are 5 facts about what that scale actually produces. Number 30. The Yangtze River runs roughly 6,300 kilometers, making it the longest river in Asia and the third longest river on Earth, behind only the Nile and the Amazon. Its drainage basin holds close to a third of China's entire population. Number 29. The Three Gorges Dam, built across the Yangtze, is the largest power station on the planet by installed generating capacity, producing roughly triple the output of the next largest hydroelectric project anywhere in the world. Building it required relocating more than 1 million people, and it created a reservoir that stretches back hundreds of kilometers upstream, submerging entire towns that once sat in the original gorge walls. I spoke with a hydrologist who has studied the Yangtze Basin for over a decade. She told me most people picture a dam as a wall. She said at this scale, it is closer to a new geography, one that changed rainfall patterns and river flow for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. Number 28. The Yellow River carries more suspended sediment than any major river on Earth, picked up from the loose, powdery soil of the lowest plateau it cuts through upstream. That sediment has historically raised the riverbed higher than the surrounding farmland in places held back only by artificial levees built up over centuries. When those levees have failed throughout history, the results have been catastrophic, flooding entire provinces and killing millions over the centuries, which is why the river carries the nickname China's Sorrow. Number 27. The Grand Canal connecting Beijing to Hangzhou is both the longest and the oldest artificial canal in the world still in use. With sections dating back more than 2,400 years and a total length of roughly 1,776 kilometers, it predates the Suez Canal by well over 2,000 years, and for centuries it was the single most important route for moving grain and goods between China's north and south. Number 26. Poyang Lake in Jiangxi Province is China's largest freshwater lake, but calling it one lake is almost misleading. During the wet season, it can expand to cover roughly 4,000 square kilometers. During the dry season, that same lake can shrink to a small fraction of that size, exposing vast open mudflats, where it used to be open water just months earlier. China's human geography follows rules that do not exist almost anywhere else. Here are 5 facts about how 1.4 billion people actually distribute themselves across all that land. Number 25. In 1935, a Chinese geographer named Hu Huanyong drew a single diagonal line across the map, from the northeastern city of Haihei to Tengchong in the southwest. East of that line holds roughly 94% of the population on just 43% of the land. West of the line holds the other 6% spread across the remaining 57%. Nearly a century and one of the largest internal migrations in human history later, the ratio has barely moved. Number 24. The Great Wall is not one wall. Under a 5-year government survey completed in 2012, every wall section, trench, and fortification ever built by every dynasty was measured using GPS and field mapping. The combined total came to 21,196.18 kilometers, almost exactly half the circumference of the Earth. The best-known continuous Ming Dynasty sections, the ones tourists actually walk on, account for only about 8,850 kilometers of that total. Number 23. Despite a popular myth repeated for decades, the Great Wall is not visible to the naked eye from low Earth orbit. NASA and multiple Chinese astronauts have confirmed this directly. It is simply too narrow relative to the distance involved, no wider in most places than a regular road. Number 22. China's western half, roughly 57% of the country's land area, is desert, high plateau or mountain terrain largely unsuitable for dense farming. That single geographic fact, more than any policy, is what has kept the country's population pinned to its eastern third for thousands of years. Number 21. More than 30% of China's total land area is classified as mountainous, and a further large share is plateau. Flat, easily farmable plains, the kind that support the country's biggest cities, cover only a small fraction of the total territory, a country the size of a continent, and most of it is not flat enough to plant a crop. China's wildlife reputation usually begins and ends with one animal. Here are 5 facts about what else survived here. Number 20. The giant panda exists in the wild only in a handful of mountain ranges in central China, primarily in Sichuan. With small remaining populations in Shanxi and Gansu, nowhere else on Earth has a wild panda population. Its entire diet is built almost exclusively around bamboo. Despite having the digestive system of a carnivore, one of the strangest evolutionary mismatches in the animal kingdom. To meet its energy needs on such a low nutrition diet, a wild panda can spend more than 12 hours a day simply eating. Number 19. The Chinese giant salamander is the largest amphibian on Earth, capable of reaching close to 1.8 meters in length. It has survived essentially unchanged since the Jurassic period, making it one of the most evolutionarily isolated living animals on the planet. It is also critically endangered, driven toward extinction largely by demand for it as a luxury food. Number 18. The golden snub-nosed monkey lives in the mountain forest of central and southwestern China, at elevations up to nearly 4,000 meters. Tolerating colder temperatures than almost any other primate on Earth besides humans, its bright blue face and upturned nose make it look almost artificially designed. Number 17. The Chinese alligator, found only in the lower Yangtze Basin, is among the smallest and most endangered crocodilian species on Earth. Fewer than a couple hundred are estimated to survive in the wild, confined to a shrinking pocket of wetlands. Number 16. China is recognized as one of the world's roughly 17 megadiverse countries, a group that collectively holds the overwhelming majority of the planet's species despite representing a small fraction of its land area. A nation known internationally for its cities and factories, quietly ranks among the most biologically rich countries on Earth. This next category should barely be possible. These are records a country built almost by accident, just because the terrain left no other option. Number 15. The Loess Plateau in north-central China holds the largest deposit of wind-blown Loess soil on the planet. In places over 300 meters thick, the soil is so soft and easily eroded that centuries of rain have carved it into a maze of steep gullies and ravines, an entire landscape sculpted not by rock, but by dust. Number 14. The Beipanjiang Bridge in Guizhou province spans a gorge so deep that the bridge deck sits more than 500 meters above the valley floor. Making it one of the highest bridges on Earth, it exists purely because the karst terrain beneath it is too steep and fractured to build a road any other way. Number 13. The Fenghuoshan Tunnel, part of the Qinghai-Tibet Railway, sits at over 4,900 meters above sea level. Making it the highest tunnel ever built through permafrost, engineers had to design an entirely new cooling system just to stop the frozen ground around the tunnel from thawing and collapsing. Number 12. Hainan Island, China's southernmost province, sits far enough south to have a genuinely tropical climate, complete with coral reefs and rainforest. While the country's northernmost point near Mohe in Heilongjiang sits close enough to Siberia that the region occasionally sees the aurora borealis. One country contains both. Number 11. The Ulaanbaatar grassland in Inner Mongolia is considered one of the 4 largest grasslands on Earth. An ocean of open steppes stretching to the horizon in a country better known internationally for skyscrapers and factory floors. I want to close with the facts that only make sense once you have already seen everything else on this list. Number 10. Mount Kailash in western Tibet is not the tallest peak in the region, but it sits at the source of 4 of Asia's major river systems, feeding water that eventually reaches hundreds of millions of people across multiple countries downstream. Geographers sometimes call the surrounding plateau the Water Tower of Asia, because so much of the continent's fresh water begins here. I spoke with a geographer who studies transboundary water systems across the plateau. He told me it is one of the only places on Earth where a single mountain's runoff shapes the daily water supply of several different nations at once. He said most people downstream have no idea their tap water traces back to one specific peak thousands of kilometers away. Number 9. Because the country spans such an extreme range of latitude and elevation, China contains genuine subarctic forest in its northeast, true desert in its northwest, tropical rainforest in its far south, and permanent glacial ice on its western plateau, all within one national border without ever leaving the country. Number 8. The Yarlung-Tsangpo Grand Canyon and Mount Everest sit within roughly the same stretch of the Himalayan mountain system, separated by only a few hundred kilometers. That means the deepest canyon ever measured on land and the highest point on the surface of the Earth exist inside the same mountain range, inside the same country. Number 7. The exclusive economic zone extending from China's coastline into the surrounding seas, combined with the disputed waters it claims across the South China Sea, covers a marine area that rivals many of the country's own land provinces in size. An entire second geography most maps never bothered to show. Number 6. China officially recognizes 56 ethnic groups, and its geography is a major reason why. Mountain ranges, deserts, and plateaus isolated communities from each other for thousands of years, allowing distinct languages, architecture, and traditions to develop within a single set of modern borders. Number 5. More than 30% of China's freshwater resources sit in the Tibetan Plateau region, an area with only a tiny fraction of the country's population. The water is overwhelmingly located exactly where the people are not. Number 4. China's average national elevation is significantly higher than most large countries, largely because roughly a quarter of the entire country's land area is taken up by the Tibetan Plateau alone. A single geological feature drags the whole country's average upward. Number 3. The country's three-step topographic staircase, dropping from the roof of the Tibetan Plateau in the west, through a middle band of hills and basins, down to the flat eastern plains at the coast, is one of the clearest large-scale staircases of elevation found anywhere on the planet. You can trace the entire history of the Indian Plate's collision just by looking at a topographic map of the country in profile. Number 2. Despite holding the highest point on Earth's land border and the deepest canyon on Earth's land surface within the same mountain system, most of the roughly 1.4 billion people living inside this country's borders will never travel to either one. Both sit in some of the most remote, least populated territory in the entire nation. Number 1. China is simultaneously home to the highest railway on Earth, the deepest sinkhole on Earth, the deepest canyon on Earth, the tallest stationary sand dunes on Earth, and the largest artificial canal on Earth. A cluster of 5 separate planetary superlatives inside one national border, most of the world has simply never been told about. These 50 facts are not a random collection of trivia. They are a description of one place. The deepest canyon on Earth, the highest railway on Earth, the largest amphibian on Earth, the tallest sand dunes on Earth, the most extreme population imbalance on Earth. These facts share a common origin: a country large enough, old enough, and geologically violent enough to produce records at a scale most nations never get the chance to contemplate. China is not extraordinary because of how it is marketed. It is extraordinary because the numbers are what they are. They do not require embellishment. This video did not embellish them. If any of these facts made you reconsider something you thought you knew, that is the point. There are 50 more in the next video.